Welcome to That's So Intimate,
a podcast where we explore living well through deep, curious conversations.
I'm Sarah, guide at Rad Intimacy, inviting you to remember your sacred self.
I'm Bryan, a guide at Sadhana Yoga School, where we share wisdom for life.
Let's get intimate.
Oops. Oh.
So today we're going to talk about seeking and what it means to be a seeker. And a seeker is a person who looks for truth, meaning, or understanding, often beyond what is easy or given. Someone who is often asking questions. They might not settle for surface level answers, and they have a pull toward growth, wisdom, love, or truth, and they tend to kind of follow that pull.
Are you a seeker?
I definitely self-identify as a seeker. I think in reflection, I've noticed, in my younger years, how that sort of internal flame, that desire for understanding, it was almost came out sometimes as rebellion or curiosity to the point of annoying people, all for some kind of personal growth or seeking understanding. And I never quite felt satiated by, traditional school or regular conversation, small talk type stuff. It felt too small. And so I had this intensity about me in this pursuit of seeking some meaning or truth.
I'm thinking about a little kid that always asks why.
Right.
Right? Can we go outside? No. And then it's why? Because it's raining. They're like, why can't we go out when it's raining?
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't have our rain jacket today. Why?
Yeah, right.
That just, why is that seeking, or is that something different? And then is that similar to maybe how a seeker feels in our everyday world, where people don't really like to ask why we're doing the things that we're doing?
Mm.
We don't question, why am I going to work every day? Or why am I working here? Or why really did I get this car versus another car? Or
it's an interesting question that you propose. Is it innate within us that, if young children are doing it, is it something we suppress, that society teaches us to push down some of that seeking and that asking why to all the things? Or is it a pursuit that some people feel more intensely than others? I don't know. Maybe they learn it's not polite or not helpful to keep asking why, even though they might want to know. So they kind of grow up and become less curious. I mean, I can tell you that our traditional U.S. school system wasn't set up for a lot of seekers or real curiosity. It was sort of meant for getting right answers and for sitting still and, lots of structure and discipline.
yeah, so if there's a teacher and they have an outline that they're going to teach that for the next hour, they kind of stick to that outline. So then if a student has a question, it's kind of maybe the best you're going to get is that's a great question, but we're not going to focus on that right now. Or some people, I guess, maybe dismiss it more, right? Rather than saying, wow, what a great question, let's explore that. It takes us off the plan.
And just to be clear, often individual teachers don't have too much autonomy and discretion to be able to go off that curriculum, right? So they might be able to explore some curiosity and some whys for 5 minutes, but that might be really all they can do because they're required to teach a certain thing within a set of time. So it's not necessarily that it's the teacher who isn't interested in exploring. It might just be the system, right? But I think it is important to just say that we might be conditioned out of this natural way of being, or it might be the way I felt it is I felt like a little bit of an oddball. I felt does anyone else feel like
Mhm.
feel this like internal drive, this like I describe it as a flame. Like it's like this like very alive thing in me that I just feel like I need to keep pursuing.
And then that makes me think about, like, with my son, now he's 11. He doesn't ask necessarily why the way he used to, but he'll ask why in some cases. So I'm thinking about a situation where we might be at a dinner with some friends or family, and he'll be ready to go. And I'll say, well, we're not leaving until a half hour. And he'll ask, well, why? Like, and I kind of dismiss it. I'll say, well, we're not going to talk about that right now. We can talk about it later, but we are staying. So
Hmm.
it's kind of like, I guess from my perspective in that situation, almost seeking to understand and really go into that almost can take away from the experience of just doing what we're doing. It's almost a little paradox to me.
It's distracting, right? And in this case, you're talking about a power differential of parent child. And so like there is this sense of challenging authority by just asking why. Like, and I remember being met with that, like people getting frustrated. I even got in trouble because it's just like, this is the way it's done. This is the protocol. This is
Hmm.
whatever. And they would get irritated that I would be like, but like, can you explain you know what I mean? And I
Hmm.
wasn't trying to, be a jerk about it, but
Yeah.
sometimes you do. You're just like, I want to understand it. Like, but
Yeah.
sometimes you're not in the place to unpack it and it's can be frustrating. I get that. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, like there's a lot of times I'm like to my son, like, you're right. I don't understand why, but this is the way that it's done. Like, this is what we're doing now. Yeah, I don't know if I can really rationalize why this is happening now. I don't know the answer, but this is what we're doing and we can talk about it later, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I love having kids around to challenge that, like to say why, personally, because just a reminder, like if a kid doesn't recognize why we're doing something, often it means that the adult's doing it on autopilot, and maybe they don't know
And it
why
might be
either.
interesting to
Yeah, it
explore
could be
the
very
like,
interesting to
what are my
explore.
motivations behind this? Is it
Yeah.
because I learned it's the right way to do it? Or is it really the best path for us now? Or
Mhm.
like, I don't know. It's interesting. Can make you think about things differently.
So then it's like with the question of, can we leave now or are we gonna stay another half hour? Like, why? Like, well, we said we'd stay till 8. Is that really a valid reason?
Hmm.
You know? Or is it better if the energy shifted to leave earlier, change plans?
Mhm.
But asking why is, I guess, part of seeking. Is that the main thing, or what else is part of seeking?
So I'll give you some of the roots of the word. Seeker comes from the Old English sekan, meaning to search, pursue, or try to find. So at its heart, a seeker is someone in motion, in pursuit, you know? It's not always, the question isn't always why, but it can be a search for something bigger, some answers, maybe like all the way to the meaning of life, if you like, right? But it
Yeah, so what are the things that people can be seeking for? Are there certain, like, categories or topics, or is there one culminating thing, like the meaning of life?
mm,
Are all seekers seeking the meaning of life, or
no, I don't think so.
are some seekers seeking, I don't know, what could we seek besides the meaning of life?
It could be answers to some of the whys of why am I feeling this way? Why am I curious about this? Like it's all in the effort of understanding for sure. Maybe if you're thinking about like yogic enlightenment, then yeah, you might be seeking the meaning of life, right? At the sort of pinnacle. But maybe there's a lot of like curiosity that leads you there, you know. I always like think of it as akin to like an explorer, right? Or someone who works in experiments, right? Like you're like trying out different things, you're testing things, you might be getting closer and you're like, "Oh, that's maybe closer than I was last year on this, but doesn't feel like it's quite the full answer. It's quite it for me." And then so you keep kind of like I think inherent in it is a path of learning in some kind of personal growth that just is almost required in that pursuit. Like, because you won't really get anywhere if you're not learning and growing, you know,
What do you mean you won't get anywhere?
with whatever your answer is, with
Oh, yeah.
whatever you're seeking, right? Because I think built into a seeker is wanting to have a better understanding of something, and that
Mhm.
requires some sort of change.
Yeah, it requires a change in perspective, a change of information that you have. Yeah.
And so I think the feeling internally could be a variable of things. Like I mentioned curiosity. It could be like feel like more like a longing, though, a restlessness. I think maybe I felt that as a young person, like this intensity to like wanting to have it all figured out quicker, in that like sense that there's more. There's more to be learned. There's more to grow. There's more to something.
Mhm.
And it's just like find you're looking, you're looking, you're looking. Would you describe as a seeker?
I mean, I don't really somebody asked me to describe myself, I don't necessarily say seeker, but if somebody asked me if I'm a seeker, probably I would fall into that definition. I have a sense that there's more out there than what meets the eye, and whether it's looking out at a forest or meeting a person for the first time, right? It's like
Hmm.
there's always more under the surface, and then or in myself. I love learning new things, constantly reading books and listening to podcasts and yet thinking about life, talking with people about different ideas. I think that falls under seeking.
How do you think you would differentiate curiosity versus seeking?
I mean, at first, I want to put curiosity as part of seeking, like, but is all curiosity seeking? I mean, I think you could put all curiosity under seeking.
Hmm. Say more about that.
Well, I think anytime you're curious, you want to learn more. You're trying to discover something. You ask the question why or
Mm.
how or
Yeah,
what.
I guess I think of yeah, I think I see curiosity as being like a period in time where you're interested in a particular thing that you're curious about. Like it feels very specific and honed in, whereas I think a seeker is almost like this like internal drive that lasts over a long period of time.
So then it's like, well, where's the line, right?
Yeah.
Between just somebody who's curious occasionally,
Right.
how many times a day or week or month do you have to be curious in order to be a seeker?
Well, I think one is like on a path. I think a seeker is like a journey of some sort of discovery. Sounds cheesy, but I think that it's really like that, like you're on a path toward something. Whereas you could be curious about like this pinball of all kinds of different random things that don't like lead you on some sort of pursuit of something. So maybe seeking's more organized.
But that makes me think like, are we not all seeking or on a path? Like we're all on a path, or are we not all on a path? Like even somebody who maybe doesn't identify as a seeker,
Mm.
doesn't consider them super curious, seems content knowing what they know, living the life they live, but isn't that still their path? And they're still going to learn things. They're
They have
still
a
going to
path, but
grow.
it seems like they might be okay following a more generally understood path that has existed in the past. Not to say that they're copying someone else's life. That's not what I mean. But I think a seeker is like inherently like there must be another way. There must be like they're wanting to do things a bit differently. I think of them
Mm.
as being not necessarily an outcast, but certainly one who's like wanting to not follow the status quo and really question a lot of aspects of life on whatever path that they're on. So everybody's on a path, but I think this one is like maybe a bit unique in its drive toward something unique or different. I don't know.
Mhm. Makes me think, but then what if you have a community of seekers
Oh, yeah.
and they're all kind of on the same path,
Mhm.
then they're no longer unique.
Yeah, I don't y this isn't like trying to win the, like, "I'm more unique than you" Olympics, but more like what they're not accepting what society tells them is the thing that they should be doing, right? They're questioning it, and so you can question and be seeking in community for sure.
Then that makes me think like I feel like a lot of my life I've been seeking how to fit in to communities or how to fit into society or how to fit in and
Interesting.
make more friends, like seeking that. So isn't that moving in the opposite direction of what you were saying? Kind of like, because I was hearing maybe you're suggesting that seeking is moving a more personal path and it brings you out of, let's say, societal norms.
Hmm,
But I might identify, at least, I mean, I think I do that too, but I've also definitely been actively seeking how to fit more into society and connect more with people who are regular people. And I would call that seeking for me.
seeking connection or community or friendship?
Seeking understanding of how to make a friend, let's say.
Hmm,
Seeking the answer to, yeah, how to be part of a group or
mhm. So it's interesting. When you reach whatever that answer is, say you built skills on making friends and you feel content with whatever community you have, are you done seeking?
we go on moving, seek something else, right?
Huh. Once you've
But you're
attained
right,
it.
that is kind of a goal-oriented thing that you can achieve, and I feel like, I mean, not certainly the best I could be at it, but I felt like I've achieved some level of being able to make a friend.
Yeah.
So maybe that seeking of like how to make a friend, let's say, has subsided in me as I build that skill. So there's no longer that curiosity or desire to understand once I have that understanding. So that is a dilemma, maybe.
It's making me think of the joy episode we did recently and how we were comparing what happiness is versus what joy is. And so the comparison between those two is happiness is a bit more fleeting or situational, environmental, whatever. And joy is like this more steady, perpetual state. I think a seeker is that more steady, perpetual, like it's just how you move about the world as you're seeking your
Mhm.
whole life, maybe,
Mhm.
versus maybe a curious person who's interested in learning skills. You're seeking an end goal skill is a little bit different than being a seeker. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I do see that, especially with that example of learning a skill of making friends. But then, like, once I kind of have that down, then I move on to the next skill that I want to understand or build.
So, but if you're trying to understand the meaning of something, is building skills leading you toward a bigger understanding of why we're here, for example? Or like, I'm curious if there's more to
I
it.
think absolutely it does. Yes, learning about how other people live and how they think and talk and interact, it helps me understand the world. Understanding other people's perspective is huge in that for me.
Yeah. Hmm. So, almost like seeking how we relate to each other and why we relate to each other or something.
That's part of it. I mean, that's not, I wouldn't say that's like my life's goal is to seek how to, let's just say, make friends.
Hmm.
And that's like all I'm seeking. But I have been seeking that over the past few years.
Hmm.
And I guess to your point, that does fit into a broader desire I have to understand and live life more fully. Yeah.
Yeah, it must be satisfying a certain aspect of whatever you're longing for, right? Connection or something, maybe more
Mhm.
deeply understanding and seeking connection.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I guess as I think about it, I tend to be curious or be a seeker when I do have something that comes to my mind that I don't understand that I want to, but I don't think I identify as a seeker the way some people do in that, like, I always feel like I need to be growing and that's really the point.
Mm,
I feel like it's more like a means to an end,
okay.
like seeking to understand, not seeking for seeking.
For seeking sake.
Yeah, not seeking for seeking's sake,
Right,
it's
right.
like,
Whereas I am in that boat. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think maybe that's a slight difference, so
Yeah.
if I don't know, if I'm feeling like things are just so enjoyable and good and awesome for the day, totally content just enjoying that. I don't feel like I need to up the experience by learning more or seeking more. It's like I would want to learn more and seek more if I want to up the experience.
So, like in yogic or spiritual traditions, more ancient ways of doing things, the seeker might be, the person in the tribe or the village or the community that would either be in communication with source energy or might be like waking up to some inner call. And they might have been like kind of a wisdom guide for leaders in the community, right? Like to help guide them on a path toward whatever it is, like alignment with spirituality or something.
So you're saying a seeker might be a spiritual leader of sorts.
Hmm. I think because innately they have done the work because they're always seeking
Hmm.
the like what feels true and all of that. So like the thinking being like when they're an elder, then they're able to share
Hmm.
what it is that they've learned through that path of seeking and being a seeker.
Yeah, that's interesting. Think if we all have kind of different temperaments, maybe we all have different seeker levels, so maybe some of us have more seeking in us than others do. They tend to be, yeah, I guess, accumulating wisdom through that seeking, and then often they will share that wisdom with others or maybe be a leader in some realm,
Hmm.
whereas others have different kind of pulls
Yeah.
than that deep understanding.
Like in the yogic tradition, a guru would probably be someone that's like a spiritual seeker and then shares that wisdom, right? Like, so that would maybe be an example of that.
Yeah, definitely. I would say a guru would be a spiritual seeker. And then I would also say that everyone who is interacting with them is a seeker. That's why they're interacting with them, right?
Absolutely.
It's like they
I
are
think I
a
wonder if we're
student in a
drawn
way.
to seek like if a seeker is drawn to seekers, especially in like a mentorship capacity or something, because it's like, oh, you're thinking like I'm thinking, and you're ahead somehow on this path of like considering or being curious about these things. Like, seems natural that you'd gravitate toward some of that.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? Because if the more you seek, presumably the more you know, or at least your perspective is shifting.
Hmm.
So then if I'm a seeker, yeah, I want to find somebody who's already been exploring the same things that I want to explore. So then there's a spiritual seeker or a
Hmm.
spiritual teacher who can kind of share their perspective on that. But then I'm thinking about, I was seeking how to make more friends. So then I seek people who have studied that and maybe been, I don't know
Yeah.
if seeker is the right word for that, but are more like that's big part of their life. So they've accumulated some wisdom or knowledge or
Mhm.
perspective on how to do that. It's interesting to It's kind of a reframe from like disciple guru or student teacher to like seeker and somebody who's been seeking longer
Yeah.
or seeking before, somebody who seeked before me. So a
Mhm.
teacher or a leader or
Almost as if it's like a ladder or stairwell that, like, it doesn't have to be related to age or number of years per se, but just like how much time, effort, whatever that you've put into this path of seeking,
mhm,
that you're able to share forwards and backwards a little bit with people.
mhm.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder what population of humans would be considered seekers, either, because it would probably be just self-described or whatever, but I wonder if it's small or what. Like, are they the philosophers and the spiritual leaders of our communities largely, or do you think it's something else?
I mean, it's tricky because there's a lot of ways to seek.
Yeah.
And my mind immediately goes to, well, the seekers in our world are the people who ask a lot of questions and look for those answers. So they're reading a lot of books.
Mm.
They're going to school, they got their masters, they got their PhDs, they're trying to find the answers. They're just like
Mhm.
they're really drawn to that.
Yep. So learning, right?
They're really drawn, yeah, yeah, seeking almost synonymous with learning, right?
Okay.
But it's not like just the people in with like traditional high education are seekers, right? Certainly there's people who of all education that are seekers.
Yeah. Because they might be seeking something
They're
outside
seeking
of
something else, yeah.
the traditional thing that school could offer, right?
Yeah.
I even think of like a great example would be like an explorer, like someone who would be like exploring new lands, like,
Mhm,
finding new civilizations, like, and so in a way, I think a lot of scientists or people in that profession could be seen as a seeker because they're really like trying to uncover something new.
mhm,
And then the wanderers, right? I think sometimes they get like a bad rap for being a little bit like flighty and like having no direction, but maybe they're actually seeking something, right? In their misdirections or in their yeah, yeah. So I'm agreeing with you. There's so many different ways to seek.
So then what's the difference of a wanderer and a seeker, right? And I think there's some quote like, yeah, not all who wander are lost or something,
Sure.
right? It's like, and then I think you also said earlier, like seeking, like there's a knowing there's more. So there's almost like a pull away from what you know or from the norm. And that would create a wanderer. It's like,
Exactly.
I'm seeking, I don't know what or
Hmm.
where, but I know it's not here.
Yeah.
So then I'm kind of the wanderer seeker. Like I'm just going to a new place
Yep. And
and
it's making
seeing what that leads me to.
it's making me think of our last episode, No, where we talked about sometimes all you know is it's not this.
Mm,
Like, so maybe you're on this path and you think you're getting close and then you're like, nope, it's just not this. So then you kind of shift directions, and to some observer, it might look like you're wandering, but to you internally, it might feel like you're really clearly focusing on the next step. You're just tweaking things based on what you learn, experience
mhm,
toward that goal, So it's interesting. It's pretty subjective, like a wanderer. And then I think there is like a shadow side of a seeker though, right? And I've been known to be like this in my younger years, which is just like always searching and not feeling like stable or landing somewhere, right? Like, so you're finding it hard to commit to things. You might be looking outside of yourself for answers that might just be within you too. Like, you might be like, say, getting the PhD thinking that might be the answer when actually a lot of what you could be learning comes from within.
mhm. That's kind of like feeling inadequate as we are, right? It's like I gotta know more and then I'll be okay. I'm not okay as I am.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, certainly could be motivated a little bit in some cases by insecurity. But to me, it feels like that could have perpetuated it to some extent, but it seems deeper than that. Like,
Mhm.
it seems the questions and the yearning seems deeper than that. So as it relates to the shadow, if you've at least addressed that inability to kind of like ground into some of what you learned on your path to seeking, you might, as you mature in the seeking, might be able to figure out how to like pause and integrate whatever it is that you're learning along the way rather than just diving forward, perpetually forward.
Yeah, that makes me think, like, is there a difference between seeking and just being, right? Are we like, that was kind of the dilemma, like, you're perpetually seeking, so you're not just, like, landing.
Exactly.
But can we do both? Can we just be and seek? Or is it always kinda like
Hmm.
one energy or the other?
So if you go back to the definition of the root of the word is about searching, pursuing, finding, and that all is like an action, a
Mhm,
motion, in motion. So I guess what I'm hearing though is that like through practice, we can do both maybe. Like keep seeking, but also integrate
mhm.
the learnings so that we move when we need to move and we're steady and grounded when we need to be, like, and maybe balance that.
Makes me think back to kind of a slight differences that we were resonating with where, and maybe this is a good way to say it, like, if I feel like I've landed, I'm happy just to be landed for a while
Mm,
until I feel some type of disturbance maybe, and then I'll seek out how to resolve that. Whereas maybe you were saying you're just perpetually seeking and you wouldn't necessarily feel that at ease landing.
mhm. And so it's making me think from an energy perspective, if seekers really do need that balance of having someone in their life that is in their masculine to kind of root you down or a feeling of security or at least be in touch with some kind of earth energy and or literally earth to try to kind of ground you so you're not kind of always perpetually in motion, right?
Hmm.
Cuz it I think it's I guess it's could be both masculine and feminine, but a seeker sounds a bit like a masculine pursuit, but also it's kind of like a flow of curiosity, which could be feminine. How do you see that?
Well, yeah, like I would agree. I think it could be either one. I think masculine, that kind of brings structure to my mind. So it's like, got a plan, structure. I designed this year. I'm going to seek how to do this thing,
Mhm,
plan it out, go through, goal oriented. You have the direction, you have a clear outcome. You're kind of wanting to reach something to get it done.
mhm,
Whereas feminine seeking side would be more flowy, non directional, feeling how am I feeling and then being guided by that. So it'd be more, it would look more like wandering,
mhm.
may look more
And the
like
masculine
wandering.
might look more like the societal accepted version of being like, say, a scientist, right? It's like
Hmm.
you're curious, you're seeking, but within the context
Hmm.
of something that's
Yeah,
well understood.
I wanna figure out this answer, so, yeah, I'm gonna study this, then I'm gonna go to that lab and do this experiment. This is my plan, I'm gonna execute it. I'm seeking that answer.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe more feminine energy would be this feeling that something's not right
Hmm.
and being called to go talk to this person, I'm just gonna go do it. I'm
Yeah.
seeking. I don't know necessarily what, I don't know how, I'm just going there. So, like, of those 2, when I think about spiritual seekers, it's like we need both, right? We need to have that calling, the kind of that feminine calling
Yeah.
that we're drawn somewhere, that intuitive knowing that there is more to life. But then I think there's so much value. Like, I mean, I teach yoga, so I know that. Like, and that provides a lot of structure for people. and a plan. It's like, okay, we can do these practices. Let's go to class. It's a very masculine thing. I put it on the schedule, I go do it, and then
Yeah.
that's like step by step thing, you know? So I think we would need both. I mean, certainly to figure out the answer of what's the purpose of life, we need to engage all of our abilities. So the masculine ability and the feminine ability
Mhm.
in all of us. So that's interesting to think like if we are maybe more of the wander or perpetual seeker, that maybe that's more feminine energy. Keep that going, but then maybe it might be useful to think about what are some structures I could use to direct and kind of to create like some banks so that I don't get too dispersed in
Right.
my direction.
Right.
And maybe I don't need to experience everything in life, but I can kind of direct it, just like move in the direction a little bit. So find some structure, some masculine
Mhm.
energy to add to it. So a lot of people come to yoga that way, I find. Like they know there's more, they want more. It ends up being a lot of women.
Mm.
But then yoga kind of provides that structure. Like we're in a group, we're reading some texts, there's a lot of structure there.
In certain
And
practices,
then the
right? Like
practices,
the
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do this breathing exercise, do this meditation. It's like do, do, do. It's a lot of masculine energy. And that helps support them in their growth, right?
But then still checking in with that knowing and that seeking
Yeah,
and
never
not
losing
pushing
that.
that down. Right,
Never
right,
never
right.
losing that, but
Staying in touch with it.
like adding in the masculine
Yep.
to your feminine,
Yep.
knowing that there's more. But then I'm thinking about, okay, for the people who are more in their masculine and like have a plan, are executing the plan, you're doing it. It's like maybe sink back into your feminine a little bit and like, how do I feel today? How is my life going? Am I the person that I want to be? Is this how I want to be showing up? Like question and ask yourself some of these questions and sink into it and feel into it and journal about your feelings. Talk to some friends about your feelings. Start to get add a bit more feminine energy. Go dancing. Go out for a walk, not knowing where you want to go and just turn right when you get a call to turn right, left when you want to call, turn left. Yeah, expand your world and get into the flow a bit more because we definitely need that energy if we're a seeker, right? Like,
Hmm. So you're talking about pairing the seeking energy with structure of the masculine or practices that are structured. I was suggesting that could be the case, but also what could be helpful is to pair it with some kind of like rootedness, groundedness, some earth energy specifically. So not necessarily structure, but stability and grounding,
hmm
rooting down, because so much of the seeker energy is like insight, vision, longing. It's very like air, maybe energy. And I think that's a good yin yang kind of like balance. And to the point where like our bodies are of the earth. And so almost like how to become more embodied as well as have a connection to maybe actual nature would be really like a great tool for a seeker to
hmm
create a little bit more stability within oneself.
Well, I kind of see that kind of like grounding energy as masculine energy in a way. It's like you have your routine. Maybe you wake up at a certain time. You know you're going to eat.
Routines and
You
things. Yeah.
know you're going to go see this friend because you kind of like know that it's going to be good for you. You know that you're going to go to work. You're grounded in that routine. I see that as kind of like a masculine thing.
Yeah.
And
So
that,
it's like the seeker can continue to seek, but they also need kind of like a home base or like stability.
well, it depends, kind of what our role is in this world, right? If if you also have to work and feed yourself, then yeah, we need to be grounded and do that.
Because
If you have
otherwise you'll be burned
somebody
out
if
too.
you have somebody that does that for you
Mhm.
and that provides a house and that provides food and that, I don't know, provides the safety for you, then you wouldn't have to have that masculine energy in yourself, or
Yeah,
you
but I
wouldn't have to
do
have
think
that
you could still
grounded
get
energy.
burnout if you can't resource it internally as well. So I think you're right, and also I think it has to come from yourself a little bit, otherwise you'll
Well,
just
I think the
sputter
reality
out.
is that most of us need to take care of ourselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, we need we have a community, maybe we have a partner or family, and there's a lot of support, but yeah, the reality is most of us need to balance those energies, the masculine, feminine energy in ourselves to be able to take care of ourselves. I guess I was suggesting that the seeking energy, there can be masculine aspects to seeking.
Striving.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And I guess what I'm saying is whether it's striving or wandering, whatever kind of energy of seeking needs to be balanced with some kind of grounding. Or you would say maybe structure, but
Well, no, I was saying that the structure is masculine. So I guess that's where we came into that conversation about
yeah.
grounding.
I guess what I'm saying is no matter what type of seeker you are, because you're always looking forward ahead, seeking something, feeling really grounded within your own body and in your own place where you are in the present moment is actually really
Yeah, so
powerful.
is it almost seeking energy and non-seeking energy, like content energy, like just being energy, seeking energy and being energy?
I think so, probably, yeah. Or at least if it's not non-seeking energy, it's at least just a place where you can just be,
Mhm.
right? And not be just be present, right? And just embodied and grounded and not thinking about the bigger things. Because sometimes you just need a little bit of a pot, like a pause button on how
Uh,
much that, because as someone who self describes this way, it's like that internal flame can be so distracting. I mean, I've had to days where I had a certain plan of something I was going to do, and then my brain went somewhere about seeking something, and I, for the rest of the day, was on that. You know what I mean?
mhm.
So it's definitely distracting and energy sucking sometimes.
As a seeker. So you're saying
Yeah,
as a full-time seeker, you like a little vacation and just like being.
just a soft place to land, kind
Yeah.
of like you're like, "Phew, that was tiring."
Yeah.
I think
So
it's
you
like,
can recognize that though.
yeah,
Like
it's a
so you can
worthwhile
be.
path, and it's a lot because it's sometimes it's like you have to just really focus on the present moment and having everything be wonderful just as it is. Because when you know that there's this internal pull, that there's something more, it's hard not to want to keep focusing on that. You're like, but there's like this unsettled curiosity within me or
Mhm.
longing within me. And sometimes you have to just try to put it on the back burner and, you know,
Yeah, this makes me think of just like a gratitude exercise, right? Instead of thinking about all the things you could have done better today,
yeah.
like I want to do better tomorrow, or you instead are like recognize like all the things that are amazing and have gratitude for those. It's like a being gratitude exercise, almost like a
Mm-hmm.
being exercise. Like instead of like we have to do better, it's like let's recognize how well we're doing.
Hmm. How far we've come. Sometimes that's like a really helpful perspective because I tend to be so forward looking that sometimes it's especially, we're at the turn of a year here is just like reflecting, like, where was I a year ago?
Hmm.
And like, what have I accomplished? And how am I a bit further down this path of seeking? And how can I, yeah, be grateful for all of that? Because, yeah, if you never kind of take stock in where you are, you can't really appreciate how far you've come.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting because if we look back with the eyes of have I gone anywhere in this last year?
Mhm.
It's different than what am I grateful for that I have?
Mhm.
Because let's say you have everything you ever want and your life is just amazing, but it was the same last year.
Mm.
If you haven't like grown, maybe it doesn't feel that good if you look at it from that perspective. But if you look at the perspective of just being, maybe it's perfect.
Yeah.
So then
Sometimes I
yeah.
wonder what it is like for people who are just cool with the status quo. And I just like imagine them being like so at peace. They're just like, "Oh, it's like I'm just like so contented." Whereas not that I'm not content, it's just I feel like this like inner drive toward pursuing something,
Mhm.
which I love. I don't want to be any other way, but sometimes I'm kind of like, oh, it's probably like way easier to like not have so much of that.
Grass is always greener, right? The seeker might want a little bit more contentment just being, but then the person who's just content being also has probably inkling that things could be there's a little bit more than they see, right? And that there's a little bit more
Do you think
depth.
people feel a sense of stagnancy if they're not in this what feels like pursuit of something? Yeah.
My guess is that most of us do. I mean, in yoga, they have this term of enlightenment. So there's this idea that people can know everything and know, I guess, the meaning of life or know what the purpose is. And like,
Mm,
you kind of see things clearly. But most of us, that's not us, right? So we're just regular old humans.
mhm.
And so we have all these, like, we're very affected by our environment and by our situation. And I think there would be, that naturally creates some dis discomfort in being, like not knowing creates some discomfort. So I think it would always be there. There's some discomfort in just being, but then there's also some discomfort in always seeking, right?
Yeah.
It's like, so then it's like we have to find the balance that's right for us. And if there's discomfort in both, because the reality is most of us are not going to get, like we may be seeking, but we're not going to find the answer
Hmm.
and be satisfied. And then like, our society tells us
Interesting.
like what some of the answers are, right? Like, so and a lot of us end up seeking in that way, right? Like go to school,
Mm,
like the equation
mhm.
for contentment or for a good life is go to school, get a good job,
But then if that
get
doesn't
married,
work,
and it very rarely works,
right?
right?
Some people are okay just with it being not terribly satisfying, but again, they're just like maybe not having that real pull toward figuring it all out. They're just like, this is working. I'm content. I have what I need. I mean, I don't know. And some people just aren't. They're like, nope, that doesn't work. And also, I feel this intense longing or desire to like seek out something more.
And I think it comes down to what I see in people is, let's say we're talking about the person that's considered successful in our world, and they went to school, they got a good job, they have that, right?
Yep.
But then they have this some feeling inside them that there's more to life, and that so they want to seek.
Yeah.
But so that there's some discomfort in that, knowing there's more. But then when they think about what to do about that, the fear of making a change
Right.
and kind of shifting into seek mode requires pushing away what they have to some
Almost like
extent.
rejecting the
It
current,
requires it,
right?
whether or not, like, so it might, even if it's just like rejecting a few hours and saying, I'm going to divert a few hours to this new endeavor, right?
Hmm.
Or maybe some people reject and they change their whole job, right? Or some people change relationships, but it doesn't have to be like, but the fear of making the change to discover more is greater
Right.
and the discomfort of knowing there's more, right?
Yeah.
So then those end up being the people who are maybe stagnant, right? Knowing more, but too afraid to make a change.
Yeah.
And then the seekers who are just naturally seeking, the same is there. Like there's a little discomfort in not really being settled,
Yeah.
but there's fear of settling because what if I didn't figure,
It all out.
what if I didn't figure it out and I'm wrong
Yeah.
and I settle on something that's wrong,
Totally.
right? So they're stuck in constant seeking,
I see both of these a lot
right?
in the
And
world and in coaching and in everything.
yeah,
It's really interesting. It makes me think, like, do you think there's an ability to switch on, if it were like a light switch, switch on seeker mode at any point in your life, later in life? Like,
yeah,
and I'm like,
definitely.
is it something akin to like a midlife crisis type of a thing where people are just like, nope, not this, and now I'm going to go seek something else, or I
I
don't know.
think the midlife crisis is that transition, right? It's like often people going from that kind of we were using steady or grounded or stable,
Yeah, life that meets
like
all the
like
expectations of
being
society. Yep.
to seeking, right? They're like,
Yeah.
and so then the discomfort of just being is too much. So then they're like, I'm just going to go seeking. And often it can be like, if we've gone a lot of our life without experimenting with what it is to seek, and then we start and we're 30 or 40, we have no clue, right?
Yep.
How to do it.
Yep.
So it can look pretty funny, right?
You can look lost when people are like,
Yeah,
"What's up
you
with
look
so and
lost
so?" Yeah.
and you're going to be doing things that seem really out of character maybe.
Right.
And
In pursuit of
in pursuit of
something
this,
greater, different, whatever.
yeah, this and often this is unknown thing that we know is we're meant to go to. But in like, so my thought in terms of exploring though either of those, whether we're coming from the seeking and looking to kind of more settle, or if we're going from the just being settled to more seeking, we can start with little things, right? We don't need to do the big things, right?
Mm.
If we want to start seeking and we're settled and we have our, perfect life, just start reading different books,
Yeah.
right? Start talking to different people, start going to different
Being
places.
curious about
Just be
something that feels
curious, right? It
right.
doesn't need
Yeah.
to be a big change, right?
Right. And we talked
Um,
about the word yes. So it's like, what thing feels like an internal embodied yes?
mhm.
Like, move toward that, learn something small. And in those efforts, definitely like listen to a podcast, read a book, go to a class, meet someone new, learn something, whatever, all those things. Yes, yes, yes. And also, we're going to be over the next few episodes kind of teasing our new offering. And I guess I would say, I believe that people who would be interested in this offering are going to be the people who are either curious, are a bit afraid, but maybe interested in a life change, or are in fact already seekers, that you would potentially find community in this thing we're creating.
Yeah, I think it's great for the people that are kind of, yeah, the more being and stable and know they want more, but not maybe don't have a clue on how to go there.
Yeah.
And then it's also great for the seekers that can actually benefit from having a bit more structure and groundedness and just like being with other seekers. Yeah.
And it's making me think of how we talked about mentors on the seeking path, right? Like, I think there might be various different people at different stages of that curiosity
Hmm.
or whatever, that can all benefit from being together and, you know, questioning things, talking about things, learning about things, like doing practices together, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I want to say a quote as we kind of wrap up from Khalil Gibran. All who seek the root of life dig in the dark. So maybe that's some of the fear that you were mentioning before, that as you're starting something new, trying to seek and figure out what life's meaning has any in store just for you anyway. Let's
Mhm.
say you're not trying to figure out the meaning of everyone's life, but just like for yourself. You're digging in the dark, meaning you don't really know what you might unearth. You're not really sure what 5 steps ahead is going to look like. You're kind of just like trusting in whatever inclination you have and starting off a little bit blind, I guess.
Mhm.
Does that sound?
It makes total sense when I think about it, right? Because if it was already in the light, it was already visible, we would know it.
Yeah.
So seeking is by definition almost looking in the dark, like looking in places we haven't looked before.
Yeah. But like maybe it's less scary to dig in the dark if you're doing it in community,
Definitely.
right? So that's as much of a teaser as you're getting on that one. We can't reveal any more than that. Dun dun dun. Thanks for seeking with me today.
Thanks for seeking with me today.
Thanks for tuning in to That's So Intimate. If this episode sparked something for you, hit subscribe and share it with someone you care about. We're growing this beautiful community, one conversation at a time.
Got a word or topic you want us to explore? Send us an email or find us on Instagram. We love hearing from you. We'll be back next week with more connection, curiosity, and intimate conversation.